What were some of the biggest cases of fraud? Like when you got in there and got behind the curtain, see like the NIH, the EPA, just see what's going on back there. What were some of the biggest cases of fraud that you kind of found?
I mean, the biggest cases are we get between Medicaid and Medicare. There's about $100 billion stolen every year, and a lot of it is like what's happening in Minnesota with the Somali community and what's happening now, even worse in California. But, one of the problems is that's a systemic problem is that Medicaid and Medicare now no longer, it used to be that they paid for your medical treatment, your doctor's visit, but now they pay for the person who takes you to the doctor, and they pay for home care, and they pay for, a person to come in and pay your bills, right? So there's all kinds of opportunities for fraud. And a doctor recently, Oz told me this, told Oz, he said, and there was a doctor in California that he visited, and the doctor had a patient who was a heroin addict. Heroin addict was coming to see him 4 times a month for some kind of a treatment. And one day the doctor looked out the door and saw his ex-wife waiting for him in the car. And the doctor said, "Oh, are you back together with your ex-wife?" And he said, "No, I hate her guts." And he said, "But she drives me because she gets paid $600 every time she drives me."
Wow.
And he said,
that'll put you back together with your ex.
We make $3,000 a month, with her driving me this, and then I drive her to hers.
Wow.
And so there's all kinds of those opportunities for fraud. And, we found a hotel that had literally every room in it was the headquarters for a nursing group.
Where was that located?
It was in California.
God.
And, so they're all just P.O. boxes. They're not actually doing any nursing care.
Nuh-uh.
They're just collecting money. And as we now know, a lot of the money that was going into the Somali community for autism care, there were these phony autism care houses.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was ending up with Al-Shabaab in Somalia. So hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars were being stolen, shipped to Somalia to fund a terrorist group. But that's happening every day. Now we have the ability to catch them.
How? How are you able to adjust that sort of thing now? Like what makes it different now?
Because first of all, under the Biden administration, I don't want to get super partisan.
Yeah.
But the Biden administration turned a blind eye to all the fraud. It was mainly going to blue states, and it was an economic generator. There's money pouring into the blue states, and they just said, we know a lot of it's stolen and illegal, but we're going to let it happen because it's coming to us. It's coming to our state. And so what we've done now is with Medicare, we control Medicare. The states control a lot of Medicaid. So it's a little harder for us to detect fraud there. We've started out with Medicare. We're using AI, and we're using AI which can detect the fraud. It can tell us whether this guy who we're paying has been convicted of fraud before, and we shouldn't be paying him again. And it will be telling us every aspect of his business that we need to know to understand whether it's fraudulent. So we're going to save just this year tens of billions of dollars in eliminating fraud in Medicaid. And they used to pay it under the Biden administration. The system was called pay and chase. So if they sent in a fraudulent invoice, even if we knew the HHS knew it was fraudulent, they would pay it, and then they would put the inspector general to go claw it back. And of course, it wasn't there, so they never recovered anything.
Oh, I see.
Now we're not going to pay them anymore. If they're fraudulent, they're not going to get a check. We're going to save tens of billions of dollars just this year, and we're going to save hundreds of billions over annually from now on.
And that's because the AI is keeping track of that?
The AI can spot the fraud.
Got it.
And with Medicare, with Medicaid, which is, a joint state-federal program. It's a little bit, we don't control the rails, and the states control them. And so we need state cooperation, and the red states are cooperating with us, but the blue states still won't cooperate. So that's going to take some time. And then there's categories that are much easier for us to control, like medical devices. We can do that quickly on our own, but there's other categories that are going to be much more difficult, but we will get it done within the next 3 years.
Whenever Doge happened, right? When Doge occurred, when Elon was in, or he was involved, or hypothetically involved, that's what it semed like, just like to the regular person.
He was definitely involved.
He was involved. Was that successful? Was that real? Like, what was the outcomes of that? Like, did that seem like were you guys working together with that? Like, what was that all about?
I think even Elon has said that there would have been better ways to do it. And that going after the systemic, what we're doing now, these large thefts, you can cut a couple of thousand people, and over the long run, it's just, drops of water in the ocean.
Yeah.
So that's not going to save us huge amounts of money over the long term. But what we're doing now is going to.
The things you were just talking about, you mean?
Yeah.
That's going to help a lot.
Yeah.
Is Doge still active? Is that program still active? What were the outcomes of that?
Well, the outcomes were that a lot of, I cut my workforce by 20%. But, in truth, some of those were very good cuts. It would, I think we all agree, including Elon, that it would have been better to do targeted cuts. Cut the people who were actually causing the problem, and then keep the people, a lot of the new workers who were only there for a couple of months. That it might have been better to keep some of those people and change the culture.
I see. So yeah, instead of more of like a mowing, more of like a pruning kind of thing, you mean?
Yeah.